Okay, you see here we're in the midst of, or at the end actually, of lesson 1.25, and you see here the 4 forms are indicated of the test found at the end of that lesson. We're going to go through the first 2 of those forms, and in the first test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with answers, but I'm not going to provide you with correct answers necessarily. I'm going to intentionally insert some mistakes into some of these sentences. Some sentences may be correct, most of them probably will be incorrect, and what you need to do, you need to find the mistake that I've made. You need to repeat the word that I said incorrectly and then give the correct word and then make the entire statement in a correct fashion. Okay? So here we go with number 1. Number 1. J'ai une sac à dos. J'ai une sac à dos. Go ahead. Say the word which is incorrect. Say it correctly and then say the statement correctly. Again, j'ai une sac à dos. Yeah, the problem is une. Une should be un. You learn that sac à dos is le sac à dos when you learn this word. That's the masculine form. So for the indefinite article, the word a or a backpack, you have a choice between un and une, and the masculine form is un, and therefore it should be un sac à dos. J'ai un sac à dos. Number 2. Vous avez 6 livres. Vous avez 6 livres. Okay, hopefully you're a little baffled or perplexed by that because there are no mistakes. I said it correctly. Vous avez 6 livres. Number 3. Let's see. Il a des calculatrices. Il a des calculatrices. Okay, again, the statement was correct. I said des calculatrices, indicating that that's the plural indefinite article. I'm just saying some. And whether the word calculatrice is feminine or masculine, des will be the same. It's not going to change. It's always des. It happens to be a feminine word, calculatrice, but des is not going to change. And then il a was the correct conjugation of the verb. Number 4. Vous avoir une chaise. Vous avoir une chaise. Right, the problem is with avoir, it should be avait. I didn't conjugate the verb. I give the original form of the verb, not the conjugated form, not the form that fits vous. It should be vous avez une chaise. Vous avez une chaise. Number 5. Il est 4 ordinateurs. Il est 4 ordinateurs. Right, the problem is with the conjugation of the verb. I said et. Is a sound that you hear following je when you say j'ai. But il is il a, or elle a, or tu as, right? So il a 4 ordinateurs. Number 6. J'ai un pupitre. J'ai un pupitre. Right, the problem is with un. That's the singular indefinite article meaning a. We want to say some, so that word should have been des. J'ai des pupitres. Number 7. Il a un feutre. Il a un feutre. Right. My problem was with the personal pronoun at the beginning of the sentence, the subject of the sentence. I said il when I should have said elle, because it refers to a girl. So elle a un feutre. Let's try number 8 here. Elle a 3 cahiers. Elle a 3 cahiers. Right, the sentence is correct. There's no problem there whatsoever. And number 9, vous a des papiers. Vous a des papiers. Right, the problem is with a. With vous, the conjugation of avoir is avez. Vous avez des papiers. And then last of all, number 10, il a 6 crayons. Il a 6 crayons. well, that's not really fair. That's kind of a sneaky one there, because everything seems to be correct. But I said to you very quickly in yesterday's video, in fact, that cis, when it's followed by a noun that begins with a consonant, like crayon, you don't pronounce the s at the end of cis. You just say si. So it's il a six crayons. And I indicated there are other numbers where this is done as well. Those other numbers, if I remember them all, are 8. If I were to say he has 8 pencils, I wouldn't say il a 8 crayons. I would say il a 8 crayons. The T, or the T sound, which is the T, at the end of 8 is dropped, and I say 8 when it's followed by a noun that begins with a consonant sound, like que, crayon. When you simply say the number 8 all by itself in isolation, it is indeed 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But all by itself, 8, followed by a noun, 8 becomes 8. And I said the last one there, 10, 10 becomes D when followed by a noun that starts with a consonant sound. If this were he has 10 pencils, I'd say il a 10 crayons. So we'll see if you can remember that. If I were your teacher, by the way, I would not count that as a mistake truly on a test. It's a relatively minor point at this point of your learning. So si, 8, and 10 are how you say 6, 8, and 10 when they're followed by a noun beginning with a consonant sound, a consonant. Okay? Now let's go down to the second form of the test. I'm going to take it now. I need to first open up my stopwatch. Let me get it out here. And come on now. There it was. It disappeared. It was right here. Okay, let me choose always on top. Put it up here in the corner. And I'm going to take form number 2 of the test. You ready? I have 60 seconds to take that test. That's not long, huh? 10 sentences. I have 6 seconds per statement. Do you think I can do it? Do you think I can do it? Let's find out. Tu as 3 sacs à dos. J'ai des livres. Elle a un téléphone portable. Elle a 10 chaises. Vous avez des ordinateurs. Vous avez un casque. J'ai 8 feutres. Il a des cahiers. Tu as un stylo et vous avez des crayons. Stop. 25 seconds. Well, how was I able to do those exercises, to form those statements there so quickly? I didn't come close to using the 60 seconds that were allotted to me. I'm sure for some of you, 60 seconds seems rather limiting, rather restricting, and more than you could possibly handle at this point. Well, the answer to that question, how, has to do with what I want to see happen in your thought process as well. What I did was, I looked at the pictures on the screen, I got those images into my mind and arranged them in the order of who's performing the action, what is the action, and what remaining information do I need to give in order to complete the thought. And here's what I did not do. I did not think about what that statement meant in English. I did not see printed words corresponding to what that statement meant in English. And I did not think about grammatical explanations or rules. And I merely had the concepts in my mind, and I expressed those concepts, those ideas in the target language. Now, how can you do that? How can you get to that point yourself as well? Well, that'll occur if you cut no corners in the ULET lessons. You do all of the different steps. And when you have a timed activity in particular, you want to always master the section of the lesson that you're working on. If you have a section of the lesson you're working on that's causing you difficulty, keep going back. Keep repeating it. Keep repeating it. Because by the act of repeating a lesson, you're getting the patterns of the language you're learning in your mind, where you don't need to think about grammatical explanations. The patterns are there, and you really can't, you couldn't transgress them, you couldn't go against them even if you wanted to. And this, like I said, is particularly true with timed activities. Like the section just before this video right here, the section where you have a PowerPoint video and you're given a certain amount of time in which to provide the answer, to form the statement before you hear me give you the correct answer. And then as you go along, you have less time, and then less time in which to provide the answer. those activities, those timed activities, are so valuable because they don't allow you to think in English. They don't allow you the time or the leisure to think in terms of printed text, even if you could. And then thirdly, they don't allow you the time to think in terms of grammatical rules and explanations. You simply have to learn through repetition and repetition the patterns of the language, this language that you're learning. And you're learning in the process. When you respect those time limits, you're learning to speak at an increasingly fluent rate of speed. Okay. Well, let me leave you with one last thought as far as my objectives for you. I would far rather see that you can speak in a fluent fashion. That is to say, that you can respect those time limits that you're given, and yet to speak with some mistakes in your speech. I would far prefer fluent speech with some mistakes than that you try to be absolutely accurate in every element of your speech, but not even come close to respecting the time limits that are imposed on you in these tests and in those PowerPoint videos. You can gradually, over time, work out the imperfections in your speech as you repeat exercises over and over, and as you're exposed to this language you're learning as I speak it to you. But one thing you can't do is if you're thinking in the wrong fashion, you're thinking in English, you're thinking in terms of printed words, written words, or if you're thinking in terms of charts and grammatical explanations, that you cannot undo. You will never learn to speak fluently if those are the ways in which you think. Okay? Pursue fluency and gradually refine your speech through repetition and going back to sections of lessons that are particularly challenging for you until you can respect those time constraints that are laid out there for you. Okay, that's enough philosophizing. I'll see you in lesson 1.26. Time for you now to go back to 125, to master each section, to respect the time limits, and then, of course, to take the test. Practice those four forms of the test first before you try to take it. Okay, I'll see you.